Right, Andy Flute, former middleweight contender. Thank you for joining me, mate. And in your day or your time, I know makes you sound a little older, but you were in a proper middleweight division. It was far more competitive than these days. You mixed it with so many top names. I was looking this morning. Your Sven Ockers, your Glenn Catleys, Neville Browns. Proper some champions, and you were a winning fighter as well. So how did you get into boxing, Andy?
It was my dad, mate. I went to the gym as a young lad with my dad. My uncle was a boxer. My dad was a boxer. They boxed for Bilston Golden Gloves, and I just went to the gym and just hung around the gym until I was old enough to box at the age of 11. Yeah.
Was it natural?
I don't know if it was natural, but my dad used to make me go sometimes because I didn't want to go. I wanted to go off being naughty. Anyway, but I had my first fight when I was 11, and I carried on. I just stuck to it. First, I got the taste for it. First amateur fight was a hard fight as well. I fought a kid named Paul Flood from Stafford. He'd had 6 and won 5. But I'd been training up Wolverhampton with the professionals and stuff, and because my uncle was a professional, I was round Gary Rocky Roberts, Lloyd Christie, Cliff Gilpin, Mick Morris, Danny Garrison, Denny Garrison, some good pros in Dino Wallace, some good professionals in the gym. Mike Sendler was the manager and Alan Rickus was the trainer. Cliff Gilpin lost on points to Lloyd Hunnigan. He was a good kid, and Lloyd Christie, who I done my first 8-round spar with. He was British light welterweight champion. So, as an amateur, I was mixing with professionals. So you can see with that sort of background, you're going to do okay, you know what I mean?
Well, I know you boxed for England as an amateur. Am I right in saying that?
Yeah, that's right. I boxed for them over half a dozen times.
Right. So overall, your amateur days, what did you do? How many bouts did you have? Did you win any titles or?
I won junior schoolboys, National Association of Boys Clubs, and then I boxed for England. I went to multi-nations tournament, knocked the Bulgarian champion out in the second round, but then I fought Raymond Garby, who was the world amateur champion at the time, and I lost on a 3-2 decision. I went to Germany with Gary Delaney and Billy Shure and some good boxers, and I was the captain of the team then as well, and I knocked the German champion out in the first round. Then my England coach, Kevin Travis, he said to me, don't throw all your ice in the first round. He says, you're boxing a good lad. But I took no notice. I looked at him. I mean, when I went to the middle of the ring, I did look at him. I put my head down to let him think I was weak, that I ain't got no bottle. And then when I just come out, I just unloaded on him, and he just crumpled in his corner in the first thing. And that was a brilliant victory. That was my best ever fight, man. Do you know what I mean? Robin Reed was on the bill, who I ended up fighting later on. There's some good talent about then. You know what I mean? But once I'd boxed for England that many times, there was no Sport England then. There was nothing like that. I was getting my own training up and down Crystal Palace. The one time I had to, pay for my own train fare to get home after boxing for my country. So, I went pro early. You know what I mean? I was picked for the Barcelona Olympics. Peter Blenkinsop from the Midland ABA. He said Andy's chosen for the Olympics at Barcelona, but I wasn't bothered. I wasn't bothered then. And I mean, I'd had enough fighting for a pat on the back. You know what I mean?
I didn't know that, but you could have actually went to the Barcelona Olympics.
Yeah, I was picked, mate. Yeah, because I was England number 1. I was the England top middleweight.
Because at the time, you're talking about, I know Peter Richardson from Middlesbrough went. Yeah. I think Robin Reed went.
Robin Reed was light middle. Richie Woodall went the year before.
All right.
I mean, the one before.
Right. How many amateur bouts did you have then before you went over?
About over 100.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So someone just put there, just watched your fight with Neville Brown. It was a proper tough fight. So when you went pro, I mean, I would like to interview you for. See, I'm doing a book. See, I'm going away from the true crime now, Andy. I've just done Nick Manners, doing junior witters at the minute, and I'll be doing one Mickey Duff in the next year, summer. So when you're going pro and you're making noises, you're going pro. Am I right in saying it's all the sharks are now making noises? You young Frank Warrens and all. Did anyone try and grab you?
Well, I started off boxing for Ron Gray. I boxed at Wolverhampton Civic Hall and stuff like that. And within 3 years of being a professional, my eyes kept cutting as a professional. The day cut as amateur. Now, this is the truth. This is what I'm going to tell you. Anybody can make their own assumptions to what it was, because when I was amateur, I drink no beer, right? And then as soon as I started turning professional and I started drinking and binging and going out, as soon as I started fighting for England, I started to drink, and then I started going out weekends. So I believe that. See, I never cut as an amateur because I don't drink. Then I went professional, I started to cut. You know what I mean? Now, I was boxing the best as amateur, best in the world as amateur, plus some of the best, top amateurs. I boxed Seymour Johnson, who beat Henry Wharton. I boxed Frank Eubanks. I boxed Paul Busby. I boxed them all. Do you know what I mean? John J. Cook, everybody. I boxed all them as amateur when I was only like a young teenager. But I day cut. Now, when I went professional, when I was drinking and going out most weekends, binging on a weekend, my eyes started to cut. Now, I believe that's because of the drink. You know what I mean?
How easy did you do the weight? Because obviously I know boxers can get cut when they're really drawn. Was that not a problem for you?
Yeah, I used to see what I used to do. When I fought Neville Brown for the British title, I had to run 5 miles in the morning. If you've read my book, it's in there, because I had to weigh in on the day. Because I binge drink on a weekend, I never made the weight right. Because then building up to the fights, I used to struggle with my weight. That's why I was a better sparring partner for Nigel Benn, Chris Eubank, and Joe Calzaghe, because I could hold my own with them because I never had to make no weight. That's why, Nick Manners said he seen me spar with Henry Wharton, and he was like, wow, look at that. And you know what I mean? He knew that it was brutal sparring. And everybody I sparred with, I just give them just as much back as they give me. You know what I mean? Yeah. But building up to fights, because I lived the boxer's life like by doing the weight right, because I kept binging and going out of a weekend. Because once I took that first few drinks after celebrating for boxing for England, my boxing career was taking off. And I should have been done a lot better than what I did. But really, my drinking career started to take off as well. You know what I mean? And I thought, because I was like tough and strong and all that, I was never. I thought I could do both. And but cuts really held my career up as well. But like I said, within 3 years of being a pro, I was fighting Neville Brown, who was the number one then. He just beat Frank Grant, and I was boxing him on his first defence. So he was at his best. And the other people that he fought, he stopped them all, but he didn't stop me. You know what I mean? But he beat me on a cut. You know what I mean? When there was nothing in the fight. So,
you're talking there, and obviously, I take it you're in your 50s now.
Yeah, I'm 53, just gone. I'm still in good shape.
Yeah. But do you know what? Hindsight's a wonderful thing. I talk to Nick Manners regularly, Junior Witter regular, Dominic Negus, all ex-fighters. And they're like, oh, I should have done this, I should have done that. You, as I said, you were a winning fighter. Your record.
I ain't got no regrets, though, Jamie. I ain't got no regrets.
So basically, your record, if anyone wants to have a look on BoxRec, you're literally the who's who of who was about. Always, credited yourself. And as I said, you were a winning fighter. I think you won about 7 or 8 more than you lost. A draw or 2 in there. But how comfortable are you these days? And your time's been and gone. These days, obviously, there was no lottery funded. And these days, the best 2 or 3 in the division don't even go in the ABAs because they're all on the lottery funded. There was none of that for you. Do you ever kind of look back and think, I know you're very religious, do you ever think, God, does it keep you awake, or are you just at peace?
No, man. No, nothing like that for me, because I had the chance, right, and I missed my chance, right? But you know what? I was making so much money and doing what I did, right? I was in the scrap business. We had lorries, we had machines, we had JCBs, we had all sorts of stuff. We had a scrapyard. And we used to have like 40 horses and stuff like that. My brother lives on a gypsy site. And I all that bothered, like, you know what I mean? Because I was making more money. I made more money in other things than I did, even if I would have been a world champion. And that really did me no good because I took the hunger away from me a bit as well. Do you know what I mean?
Well,
So,
someone's asking about your book.
yeah.
So this is Andy's book, and it's called Jesus in My Corner. I read it a couple of years back. It's a boxer's journey from hell to Christianity. So there's someone just asking there and saying, I'm buying Andy's book on Amazon Audio. I'm going to put the link in this interview straight after, and I'll share it on all the pages. But
Thanks.
this is, I mean, to be honest, mate, you've been a lot more brutally honest than normally. If I'd have been you, I probably would have skirted round some of this, but you haven't, and you've just told it as it is.
Now, because I wrote it myself with pen and paper in recovery, you know what I mean? I have no help. I wrote it. It took me 6 years to write it, and I never knew if I was going to finish it because I had so many near-death experiences. And I never sat down and said, I'm going to write a book. I just sat down. I'd met a new girl, and her said to me, why don't you write some of the people's names down you've been in the ring with? You've been in the ring with about 12 world champions. You're that man. You are this alcoholic, drunk, druggie. I says, you're the man. You're that man. You are still that man. And I said, start writing some names down. And I got a pen and paper and a scrapbook out, and I started writing it, and it turned into a book. There you go. That's the truth, that is. I had no help. And when I'd finished it, because I left school with no qualifications, no nothing. And when I finished it, I got my cousin to put it onto Microsoft Word, put it on an email, and send it to a few publishers. And every single one of them wanted it and offered me a deal. So I picked the best one, what I thought was the best one for the right deal. And there you go. And it's been a massive success. You know what I mean? It's sold absolutely thousands and thousands and thousands, tens of thousands. You know what I mean?
I mean, you're known as Andy Flute, the boxer. I knew of you as a kid, obviously from boxing news and all this. But it's fair to say, Andy, your biggest fight wasn't in a boxing ring, was it?
No, man, it was addiction, man. You know what I mean?
How bad did it? For people watching this, obviously I know a little bit, but when you say addiction, what are you talking?
Well, nobody sets out to become an alcoholic or an addict. It comes by just keep doing it. And I kept drinking, kept going out, drink weekends, binging and stuff like that. And slowly but surely, then I was like, when you become an alcoholic, it becomes like your body's had a psychological and a physical change, and then it releases a chemical, what's called acetone, what the alcohol releases, and then you can't stop. And I thought I could deal with it. I mean, I was in Alcoholics Anonymous for 10 years before I really got it. Do you know what I mean? Because Alcoholics Anonymous is a program that works, but if the thing is, we still want to drink and we don't want to do it their way. We would like to try and bend the rules and do it our way. But you know what? When my alcoholism got that bad, I really put the effort in because I was stabbed, I was run over, I went to prison, I tried to commit suicide, I drank my own sick. I remember being sick into a pint glass because I was too scared to go out the house to go and get another drink. So I was throwing up, I was wrenching, and I sicked into a pint glass and drunk it, and it was like nearly pure vodka, but like with a few bits of floating in it and all that. And I just downed that, and that gave me enough energy to like strength to go out and get me some more drink. And it really took me to hell, man. And I was in hell. You know what I mean? The story that from hell to Christianity is a true thing because I kept trying and failing. And it's not easy to get out of. You know what I mean? And I thought I could do it myself, but I don't really get on the AA program myself, like properly, because I still kept thinking I'll do it my way. But let me tell you, man, it did take me to hell. I was seeing things, hallucinating, DTs, throwing blood up, then just trying to drink after. I got stranded in Tenerife. I fell through a roof and broke my back. Oh man, I went to court drunk and told all the judges to fuck off and everything. You know what I mean? And then I punched a window through of a car on the car park, And then I went in the crack den. I blew 150 grand in 3 months on crack. Oh man, and then I went on the run. Oh man, the story, man, is just, you know what I mean? It's just really, really, it's mind blowing that I'm lucky I'm here today. You know what I mean? I really am. You know what I mean?
And then with you being a boxer, I mean, it goes back to the mafia days. Villains, whatever you want to call them, professional criminals, they would have always had a job for you because you're Andy Flute, the fighter who can look after himself. Did people try and use you and kind of recruit you to do all the things like that?
Well, see, I did collect lots of money and stuff for people and stuff like that, but they were scared of me. Do you know what I mean? You know, and I did have connections with people like that, yeah, and I did have people work for me as well, and I did have people like on doors and stuff like that, and I did do a few doors and have a few doormen and all that sort of stuff, and I did sell drugs and I did do all those things like that, what I shouldn't have done, but I don't really want to glamorize all that because I ain't that man no more. But if anything to make money, because money was my god, and I would do whatever it took. You know, I mean, I was asked to kill people. I was asked to do all sorts of stuff. And I've done some bad things, but, you know, the main thing is today is I know that God has forgiven me for it. And I'm okay today. You know what I mean? But I did everything that...
I was with another boxer at the weekend. I don't know, you know him, Gary Sykes, former two-time. Yeah. And obviously you've given me some encouraging words over the last couple of months, Andy, which I can't thank you enough. And I was sat with Gary. I mean, I think it's fair to say, Gary won't mind me saying, he's had a quite, how can I put it? He's not adjusted to life away from the ring. And you know, me 6 months on now, I said to him, Gary, you won't stop until you're sick of your own shit. When did you get sick of your own shit? Because I know this is when you kind of come into God. How bad was it for you? And how did you, what was that turning moment for Andy Flute?
Well, I was with my childhood sweetheart. I was married. Everything was great. You know, it ruined that. I finished up losing that. And then I going to prison a few times. The first time I went to prison, I take no notice of it. I just said to the screw, if you don't give me a cell on my own, I'll beat my pad mate up. You know, I was that sort of a guy. And then when I went the second time, I thought, fucking hell, I don't like this life. You know what I mean? I don't like it. Then when I went again, I thought, you know, then when I come out the third time, I thought, right, I ain't going back no more. I ain't going back. I'm going to do everything I can. And then I got into Alcoholics Anonymous. And I'm telling you now, Alcoholics Anonymous saved my life. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? They
step program.
Yeah, that saved my life, that did, honestly. I don't take no credit for it. The only thing I can take credit for is that I kept trying. Do you know what I mean? Because when it got towards the end of the drinking, now I was sitting in a pub enjoying myself. I was sitting in a room, you know, just drinking bottle after bottle, pass out, piss and shit myself, drink. Couldn't, too scared to wash, too scared to shave, too scared to do anything. Nobody knew what to do with me, mate. And I tried to commit suicide because I just thought, well, I can't take what I am. I hate what I've become. And I couldn't, the voices in my head and all the stuff and everything else. And I used to lie on my bed and just think, how shall I kill myself? Shall I throw myself under a train? Shall I jump off a building? What shall I do? But you know what? A big tough guy who fought all them world champions and everything else, I couldn't do it. I was a coward. So what I did, I got a load of tablets together and I just took them all. And that was it. And I just thought, you know what? Goodbye. That's it. I've had enough. And I was found and took to the hospital. They pumped a solution into my arm, what saved my life. And then when I come round in the hospital, I see the crisis team. And the crisis team said to me, there's people in this hospital with worse problems than you. So I just went back out and started drinking again. And I mean, then I'd set it off again, set the acetone off, and then I was going away with the fairies, man. You know what I mean? I was absolutely just a walking, absolutely physical. And the only way I could stop drinking was when my body used to stop me. I couldn't drink another drink. I couldn't keep another one down. and that's that's the only time I could stop. And then I'd had to lie there for like 3 or 4 days, trying to sip water, but I couldn't keep it down, and just shivering and shaking and it was sweating, and it was just absolutely horrendous. Like, and that was the only way I could stop. And then as the time went on, because this went on for quite some time, every recovery was like a breakdown, and everyone took longer, and everyone took something off me, took something out of me that never went back, and then I'd get back in Alcoholics Anonymous. I remember once doing 6 months sobriety, and I kept thinking, I've got this licked now, I'm sorted. You know what? Put one drink in me, that was it. It was all off again. All the good work I'd done, I knocked it all down. And then I'd get back in AA again. And this went on. This is how it is for addicts and alcoholics. You know what I mean? You had to keep stopping and keep starting and keep stopping and keep starting. And then I'd had enough. Like I said, I was sick and tired of being sick and tired. And I thought, I can't cope with this no more. Like I said, I tried to kill myself that day of work. So I thought, you know what, I've got to fucking find something inside of me that I've really got to try. I've got to put more effort in. If I really want to do this, I've got to try. I've got to try, man. And I went back to Alcoholics Anonymous, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to listen. And I got myself a sponsor, and I got this good sponsor who'd been sober like nearly 20 years. And he's still my sponsor today. He said, Andy, you've got to get honest. And I went, what? He said, you got to get honest. He said, it's the matter of like getting sober or not. You know what I mean? And I thought, I'd never been honest in my life, because I'd always been like, a criminal sort of thing. And you know what I mean? And I thought, oh man, I can't do that. But when you're being honest, everything was changing when I started to get honest, and I started to work the program. And I started more meetings, more chances. Then they said, you got to do 90 meetings in 90 days. So I did that. And I did everything what was suggested, and I made amends with people. I went up to people and apologised to them for what I'd done to them and stuff like that. I was like thinking, it ain't normal, somebody like me. But you had to like be willing to make amends. You know what I mean? But the number one step is to admit that your life has become totally unmanageable. You know what I mean? And that you are powerless over alcohol. And I admitted that. Do you know what I mean? But then I'd done that, and I got to steps 4 and 5 about writing inventory out and that, of all the people that I'd harmed and all the people that I'd hurt, and be willing to make amends and all that. And then I had something come over me again, and I drank again. And then that was another breakdown again, because I remember once going out 5 Friday nights and getting locked up all weekend and in court Monday morning, and it was shit, man, because you're in the cells all weekend. You know what I mean? And I was in court Monday morning every time, and I just kept trying and trying and trying, and my life was just like a roller coaster, like a proper car crash, and then. I'd had enough of this stuff. The pain was getting unbearable. And my sponsor said to me, you got to find a higher power. You need to make a spiritual connection, and you need to read the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous, which is like the Bible of Alcoholics Anonymous, where Dr. Bob and because they started Alcoholics Anonymous on June the 10th in 1945, and that was my wedding anniversary. I'll always remember that. And I thought, you know what, if these guys can do it, they could do what I've done in my boxing career, but I can do what they've done. Do you know what I mean? And that gave me the inspiration to do it. I thought they could do what I've done, but I'm going to do what they've done. You know, so I thought, so why can't I do what they've done? I mean, they couldn't do what I've done, so I'm going to do what they've done. So I followed the program proper this time, proper. And so they said, you got to.
When was that, Andy? Then, when have you been on the ball? How long?
I ain't had a drink now for nearly 8 years. On the 28th of October, but my addictions are totally gone. You know what I mean? My addiction to alcohol is totally gone. Honestly, I mean, I don't try and make nothing up. I don't lie. I don't cheat. I do everything right. I do everything like because I know what's waiting for me. Listen to me. The devil is real. and he'd love me to sin or to go wrong, because then he'd have me again, and then I'd end up an alcoholic again, and I'd end up worse off than I was before. So that's why I live a clean life, and I keep my side of the street clean, because I know what's waiting for me, and I know, the devil is real, because I've encountered stuff like that. You know what I mean? But that's why, like, I'm just glad to be sober, that I ain't got to go through that again. You know what I mean? Because nothing is worth it. No amount of money is worth going back to that. You know what I mean?
So what's an average day to Andy Flute now? Obviously you're 8 years clean. I seen you've got a girlfriend and that. But so what do you do now?
Well, I've got a ministry. I'm a registered charity. I go around the country speaking. I've just been in Leeds. I'm on Black Country Radio tomorrow. Like I said, I'm an author. I do one-to-one training, boxers and stuff like that. And I got a ministry. I got a few horses. I got a yard. I buy and sell a few horses, and buy and sell a few machines. Go to the auctions, liquidation auctions with machinery and stuff like that. Buy a few fork trucks. Sell them and stuff like that. I got my hand in a few little things, but the main thing I'm interested in is my ministry. Well, I go around the country giving me testimony, giving altar calls, and trying to bring people towards Jesus, because I've set so many people free, because people who've had addiction problems. I just said, look, if you get honest and you want what I've got, do what I did. And there's that many people been set free from it, because when they don't want to do it, they think following God's weak, and it's not. You know what I mean? It's not, man. It's given me more strength. I wish I'd have been, when I was boxing, I wish I'd have knew God then, because I tell you what, let me tell you this, and I ain't a bragger, nobody would have bet me. I mean, because the only thing what beat me in my boxing is myself, with the drink and the way I was. You know what I mean? But if I'd have been clean all the time, all them fights would have had against champions and all that, but the results would have been different. You know what I mean? That's why I could hold my own with Nigel Benn, do 200 rounds with Chris Eubank, spar with Joe Calzaghe, and hold my own with them. You know what I mean? Because I was never struggling to make the way. But today I've got a good life, like you said. I've got a good life. I live in a nice area, nice house. I had a few properties abroad. I sold them. And it's not about making loads of money or anything like that. It's about being happy within myself, you know what I mean, and helping others. Because when I made that promise to God, I said, if you take my addictions away from me, I will follow you for the rest of my life. And he knew I meant it. That's why he set me free. And I had a spiritual awakening go through my body, and I've never been the same. And then I got baptized on the 15th of November 2015. And my life has just gone from strength to strength, because I was never happy when I was boxing. I was never happy when I had all that money. I was never happy because I could never get enough money. I could never get enough of this, enough of this, enough of that. But at the moment, I've got a happy life, man. I've got a good life. I've got a good missus. I've got a good standard of living. And, I don't glamorise everything. I don't think I'm great. I don't do this and don't, I'm just trying to be a humble guy. And if I can help somebody, I'll help anybody. Do you know what I mean?
One thing I see you doing quite often is training, and you can still hit. I mean, how much of a big thing is boxing these days? It's obviously for the fitness, but how often do you train?
I train whenever I feel like training, to be honest, because I listen to my body. I've trained today. I've done 20 minutes on the bag. I don't have a rest. I just do 20 minutes blast. And then I've been and done a few weights, and then I do a few canal steps and stuff like that. I can still do the stuff, still train, quite good. It's just a recovery, you know what I mean? But I try, boxing's second to me now, third, it's just my hobby now. Do you know what I mean? I've had a professional license, I've had a few pros and stuff like that, but I don't get no satisfaction of from boxing as what I do. From doing me talks, when I go in the prisons. I go in Oakwood prison every Thursday and speak to the inmates. You know what I mean? I go on the drug wing and I go in and talk to them, because they'll listen to a tough guy like me, because I'm well known around here. You know what I mean? We had some guys from Hull and a few guys, and they all knew me, man. Do you know what I mean? And when they listen to me stand up and talk, and I've been in prison, I'll say, first words will come out of my mouth, I'll say, it's good to be in a prison when I'm not a prisoner. And when I tell them my story, they listen. They listen. Now, if a pastor was to go in there, they won't listen to him, because he's he got no background like me. And I believe that's what I'm called to do. and I enjoy doing it. I enjoy doing it, and I believe if you enjoy doing what you don't work a day in your life, and I enjoy doing it, man. I enjoy giving back because what was freely given to me, I'll give back out, and you give it away to keep it. Does that make sense?
Yeah. What I was going to say is, so basically, a lot of people will be watching this saying, I'm just blocking trolls there. That's not to you, by the way, that to me. So basically, that's another thing with the internet. But today, I mean, a lot of people will watch us and go, Andy Flute from James English, and I've seen you put it about. As I said, you've got your book. If people are watching this, because I am going to absolutely put it everywhere on the boxing pages later, and they like your story or they want to inquire, and maybe would like you to do a talk at church or prisons or whatever, what's the best way to get in touch with Andy Flute?
Just contact me on Facebook Messenger or Instagram. You know what I mean? I always reply to everybody. When I was on James English, I had like about 300 messages, and I reply to everyone. I don't think that I'm too big or too I can't be bothered. You know what I mean? And I had loads of alcoholics contact me, and people with addiction problems and people with boxing, all with different walks of life. And I just answered every single one because I'm a humble guy and I've been set free. So I'll pass on what was given to me. And if anybody wants to contact me, you can either contact me just through social media, is just the easiest way. Just send me a friend request or send me a message and I'll get back to you. If anybody wants me to come to their boxing event, and do it. I mean, because when my book first came out, I went to 3 or 4 white collar boxing events or professional shows every week, and at them shows I sold on an average of 50 books, and I got in the ring and I give a testimony. Do you know what I mean? And they couldn't believe it because of the person that I was. And I got in the ring and I did a short speech every one I went to. I've done that for 3 years, selling 50, averaging about 50 books 3 or 4 times at shows every week. And you know what? I loved it. It was great.
You know what? Not everyone has a happy ending because, I mean, I remember, I think you read some of my books a couple of years back, Paul Sykes. It's going to be a film now and a documentary. But your life, Andy, if I'm honest, was quite parallel to Paul's because obviously you were the fighter, the prisons, all this. He had a demise, which was, I don't know.
I could relate.
But he never really recovered, and he died in the gutter 16 years ago. It would have been a very powerful story if he could have managed to do what you've done. He died when he was 60. He looked about 90. But not only Sykes, there's a lot of other people, broken people inside boxing, and it's very rare I meet, because I know a lot of boxers and people, the crime, the villainy, it's all hand in hand, and very rare you meet someone who has a happy ending like your story from what you've come from.
Well, it's only how you start, it's how you finish. And, I believe God's there for everybody, but people don't want to, you either accept him or reject him. The reason I'm lifted up is because I went to God. I went to Jesus, and that's the reason he's lifted me up better than I could lift myself up. And I couldn't stop drinking. I couldn't stop doing anything, but I said, God, you take my addictions away and I will follow you for the rest of my life. And I did, and I meant it, and I got baptized and I lived a proper life. I lived to the 10 Commandments. And that's the only reason why I'm doing well. It take nothing, it take because of me. It take because of me, because I was a total sinner. But like Jesus says, come as you am. And that's what I did. I went as I am, as a sinner, as a broken person, and Jesus has cleaned me up. And that's the truth.
So if you wake up tomorrow and think, I'm all right now, God, I can go on my own. Eventually, do you think you would fall again?
Yeah, of course I would. Yeah, that's why, because when I made that deal, when I was on my knees crying, broken, when I made a deal, the only reason God has took my addictions away from me, I've spoke at Team Challenge, I spoke at all the prisons, I spoke in recovery places. They say, Andy, do you get an urge? I went, no, God's removed it. And I couldn't understand that because I know people who have been 20 years sober and they still drink, or they're still I know one guy recently, he was 10 years sober and he picked a drink up at his daughter's birthday party and he ended up having a stroke, and it killed him. And he'd been sober 10 years, but he hadn't made a spiritual connection. Do you know what I mean? And that's the difference. You know what I mean? He hadn't made a spiritual connection. He'd done it on his own willpower, and that's the difference. And a bit like it tells you in the AA Big Book or the NA Big Book, they're both the same. It's all the same sort of stuff. You need that spiritual connection. You know what I mean? And that's the reason why I'm like I am today. And you know what? I'm so grateful. As soon as I get put my foot out of bed every morning, I say, God, thank you for a good day today. Thank you for yesterday. May you grant me a good day today. Because I don't forget the pain that I've come from. You know what I mean? And I know what's waiting for me. You know what I mean? If I don't live right, and there ain't no way I'm going to slip up again and thinking, oh, you know what? I'm Andy Flute. I can do this my way. I can do it my way. I do it this way. You know, mate, I ain't doing that. God's give us all some simple rules that He wants us to live, and them simple. And it's just about being a decent person and living right, not sinning. You know what I mean? Not doing all things wrong. You know what I mean? Like I always did. I did everything wrong. I always did everything underhandedly. I was the biggest liar. I was the biggest thief. I was doing this. Oh man, you name it, I did it all. You know what I mean? But you know what? Today, I don't have to worry about that. You know what I mean? I've got the best life ever, and I've got a clear conscience. You know what I mean? And that's priceless. You know what I mean? That is worth more money than anything, because I know millionaires. Like I've got millionaires, people who I know, and they ain't happy. You know what I mean? They ain't happy. Them depressed, or you know, them just, you know, and that's sad. You know what I mean? Because they should be happy and should enjoy the money, but them sad because they don't live right. You know what I mean? They ain't got no peace and love in the heart, man. God is love. You know what I mean? I'll tell you, I was a violent person. I was, you know, but you know what? God's changed me inside out, man. And it ain't nothing I did, but I was just willing to accept Him and do everything the way He wanted me to do it. And Proverbs 3:5-6 in the Bible tells you, do not lean on your own understanding, but lean on Him. And that's what I do, man. And I mean, and you know, I a Bible basher. It's just a simple procedure. It's just a simple way to live. It's just living well, living right, how God wants us to live. You know what I mean? And that's it. You know, there's no, you know, no, you just got to be a decent person. You know what I mean? Because let me tell you, the devil's real, man, and he's roaming about. You know what I mean? He's roaming about, man, seeing who he can devour. You know what I mean? And you know, you sin, you just lose him in your life, because then, you know, sin, and it just leads to more and more and more. You know, but obviously for young people, you don't really want to hear that. You know, you still want to live in the world. You still want to, you know, but let me tell you, it's the right way to live. I wish I was like I was now when I was about 25. I tell you now. You know what I mean? I really do. But that's the only regret I've got. But, you know, I ain't got no regrets about the boxing or anything else, because I am where I am now. And that's all that matters. You know what I mean? I did what I did. Yeah, I could have done better, but don't matter. It's about now. You know what I mean?
Well, last thing I'm going to say, and I'm going to put, when I finish this live, I'm going to put the link if anyone fancies Andy's book, Andy Flute, Jesus in My Corner, A Boxer's Journey from Hell to Christianity. So I'm going to put the link in that. So, Andy, I mean, was it therapeutic? Did it make you cry? Did it make you depressed? Was it? So when you done that book, how was it?
Well, I had so many breakdowns by doing the book. I had so many near-death experiences, and I don't know if I was ever going to finish it. I don't know. Like I said, it only started out as writing bits of notes on bits of paper. You know what I mean? I don't know what was going on half the time. You know, I mean, when I had a drink, I was out of it for, you know, and I kept breaking down. But you know, I'm just glad I finished it. You know what I mean? I'm just really glad that I finished it. You know what I mean? And like I said, and now, like, I've had people ring me up, send me a message, say, like, off like mothers or fathers who said, I bought my book. Recently, I had one that said, I bought your book, and my son's read it and he stopped drinking. I mean, he started training and he stopped drinking and stuff like that. And I've had loads of them, you know what I mean? Because everything's in there, what I did. You know what I mean? And if you want what I got, and you want to stop drinking bad enough, or taking drugs, or anything at all, or any addiction, you know what I mean? Everything's in there, what I did. You know what I mean? And it works. It all. See, the thing is, we humans, us as humans, we don't we think we can do it our way, but we don't want to do it God's way, and that's where we go wrong. But you know what? I did it God's way, and that's where I got free. You know what I mean? That's the only reason why I'm free today, not because of me own self. You know what I mean? Because I submitted myself to him, and I followed his his commandments, and I followed his way, and that's the only reason why I give all the glory to him, not me. Do you know what I mean? It's nothing I did, but what he did. You know what I mean? And I'm just man, I wish I'd have knew God earlier. I mean, when Trish Dixon interviewed me, he said, "Andy, you got any regrets?" I said, "My only regrets is not finding God earlier in my life." You know what I mean? So some people might think that's a bit weird, but, you know, we're all different. But, you know, if they think I'm weird, I think they're weird. You know what I mean? But, I'm living proof that to be the worst alcoholic, the worst addict, no matter how far down the scale you've gone, you can come back. You can come back. Let me tell you, you can come back. If you really want what I've got, do what I did. And that's all I can say. You know what I mean? Because if you want it bad enough, then what they'll do, they don't want it bad enough. You know what I mean? That's what I say. You know what I mean? Because there were no worse alcoholic than me, or no worse a drug addict than me. Because when I used to sniff a gram of cocaine, I'd sniff the whole gram in one go. You know what I mean? And I'd sniff a bottle top of tequila at the same time. You know what I mean? And I'd put 100-pound rocks on and just go, and I'd just suck it all up till it's gone, and I'd put another one on. You know what I mean? And I'd just, man, it was absolutely horrendous. And I remember drinking 16 bottles of Jack Daniels in about 4 days. You know what I mean? Well, because I used to take that much drugs and that much stuff. You know what I mean? Because I was just numb to it all. You know what I mean? So no matter how far down the scale you've gone, you can come back. You can come back. You know what I mean? Anybody can come back while they're breathing. You can come back. You know what I mean? That's it. Well, you know, that's what I believe anyway. Because then what they'll do it, I don't think they try hard enough. I mean, the rooms are full of alcoholics. When I've been to the rooms all around the country. I've been to recoveries, like places, like I said. And I'll just tell them, I say, if you want what I've got, do what I did. And I tell you, it works. If it worked for me, God, they choose me. God, right, he's got no favourites. But if you submit yourself to him, he will help you. And that is what I did. He's got no friends. He didn't save me because I was, you know, a boxer or anything. I wasn't a great boxer or anything. You know what I mean? I was just all right. But he didn't save me because of that. But he saved me because I followed him and my heart was right. When I said, God, I'll follow you if you help me, you knew I meant it. I was sitting on the fence with 1 foot in and 1 foot out. I mean, I was all in. And that's why I'm free from addictions and alcoholism and drug addiction today, because I was committed. Do you know what I mean? I was committed, and I've, you know, has it been hard? Have there been times like, you know, has it been tough? Yeah, being separated from my children and stuff and all things like that. You know what I mean? Yeah, I've had some tough times, but you know what? Never once did I think about picking a drink up. You know what I mean? Never once. Never once. I mean, I'd never.
It's been an absolute pleasure. I know I only said to you half an hour, but well gone over that. As I said, if anyone wants to get in touch with Andy Flute, very approachable. I've been, obviously, I remember you. I remember the Neville Brown fight. Do you know what I mean? So obviously, I used to 30 years, but in the last couple of years, I've got to know you a little bit. And as I said, if anyone fancies a read of Andy's book, I'm going to put the link in. Absolute pleasure, Andy. We'll keep in touch, sir. Thank you very much.
Listen, let me just say, well done. Well done with what you've been doing. Well done for your 6 months.
6 months. Do you know, I mean, that was impossible. And as I said to Gary Sykes, because he's having and I said, you know what? You have to get sick of your own shit. And and I did. Do you know? And I did something very publicly, which made me look like a see you next Tuesday. Although there was reasons, but do you know what? It was my fault. And and I thought, and one day become a week, and then 6 months on now, and do you know what? I don't miss it. I don't miss the hangovers, and I've just got books going out my ears now. And I know the world's fell apart a bit. The business has never really recovered since COVID. And then no one's got any money for gas and electric now, so no one really wants to buy a book. So it is at its all-time worst, but you know, it's a hobby. Do you know? Because to be honest, if I didn't write or I didn't do some of the things like I did, drinking would probably. I'd be like, what else do I do?
Yeah. Well, just keep yourself busy, man. Don't take worthy. You know what I mean?
So, absolute pleasure, Andy. I'll keep in touch with you, sir. Thank you.
Okay, mate. Thanks
God
for
bless.
you, man. God bless you. Wish you all the success in the world.